Hey folks, welcome back to Tech and More Tech. I'm Carlo, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get Nabu Casa all up and running within Home Assistant. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I post smart home videos every weekend, and if that sounds like something you might be interested in, please consider subscribing. And if you have seen my videos before and you've liked them so far, be sure to hit that like button to help out with the YouTube algorithm. Like I mentioned in this video, we're going to go over Nabu Casa, which is basically the way of getting cloud connectivity to your Home Assistant. I've made a couple videos in the past on how to use DuckDNS to access your Home Assistant remotely, which has been pretty well received and is pretty useful, but it does take a lot of effort. It's not super straightforward. Even when you're following a guide like mine, there's a lot of steps in place. So I'm going to go over the couple different reasons why you should consider Nabu Casa, and then also basically just walk you through setting it all up, getting everything up and running. So the first reason why you might want to consider Nabu Casa is it's made by the same developers as Home Assistant. So by paying I think $5 a month for Nabu Casa, you're actually kind of directly contributing and helping out and supporting the Home Assistant effort. It is of course open source software, so no one's obliged to do anything, but if you use it as often as I do, I like to be able to help out these kind of developers that put in a lot of effort. So that's a first reason why you might want to consider Nabu Casa, just to kind of help out. But you do also get a lot of features for that money. The first one is very easy remote access to your Home Assistant. Using Home Assistant Cloud, you basically enable everything that like DuckDNS does, but they do it automatically. So you basically get a custom URL that you can type into your browser, and that accesses Home Assistant for you. So as long as you have internet connectivity, you can check in on your smart home. Another really neat feature is text-to-speech, so you can actually utilize the cloud service and utilize the Nabu Casa plugin to use text-to-speech. What that means is you can actually set up automations that will utilize any of the speakers or media controlled devices that you have within Home Assistant, and they can basically just say any text that you want. So for example, if you wanted to announce that dinner is ready every time a certain trigger is pulled that starts an automation, it will then say the words, hey, dinner is ready, come to dinner, whatever, at all your speakers, instead of you having to manually do it through like an intercom feature if you have something like that. So that's a really neat feature I'll show you as well. The third reason you might want to consider Nabu Casa is the Amazon Echo and Google Home integrations. So there's a Home Assistant skill and a Google Home kind of skill, whatever, that lets you integrate all of your Home Assistant devices into your Echo devices or your Google Home devices. The reason I find this super cool is I have another video called Emulated Hue that basically allows you to trick your Echo devices into thinking you have another Philips Hue hub with some of your Home Assistant devices. Again, it's a decent amount of effort to get everything in there. It doesn't work perfectly. It can only show everything as a light, which is for the most part okay, but this just gives you basically native control of your Home Assistant devices straight from your Echo. And I'll show you how to set that up as well. So with all that reasoning out of the way, hopefully you're convinced, at least give it a shot. But if you want to follow along, we're now going to jump into the computer. So let's start that now. Alright, so to get started with Nabu Casa, we are just going to go to the website, nabucasa.com. And from here, we can usually just start with a free 1-month trial. So click on that and we'll create an account. Now, obviously, I'm going to be paying for this and going to keep it going forward, but obviously you get a month to test it out to see how much you like it or not. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to quickly jump through this. So here on the main screen, we can basically choose to subscribe with PayPal, depending on how you want to pay for this, if you do want to eventually keep this monthly subscription, and then how to connect it with your Home Assistant UI. I won't bore you with subscribing because all it is typing in your credit card number or your PayPal account. that's pretty much straightforward. So instead we're going to go to the connection and learn how to actually integrate this into our Home Assistant instance. So from here it says connect, but unless you've already done everything first, what we're actually going to do is we're first going to go to Home Assistant. The first thing we're going to do is actually enable the cloud, if you will. So in order to enable the cloud, we have to go to Configuration, go to Home Assistant Cloud, and here we're going to sign in. Cool. Cloud connection status is disconnected. We do need to actually enable it. And the way we do that is by going to our file editor. We're going to go to configuration.yaml. Everything is always in configuration.yaml. And we're just going to add this little bit of code, cloud, and then colon. That is it. We're going to save. And then we're going to quickly restart. By going to server controls, we can check our config, make sure everything is fine, and hit on restart. So now that your Home Assistant has been restarted, we can go ahead and activate it by going to Configuration, going to Home Assistant Cloud. Cloud connection status now says connected. Supposedly this will be by default, but in case it wasn't, you add cloud to the configuration file like I just showed you. It says remote control is being prepared. We will notify you when it's ready. This will apparently take 60 seconds, maybe a little bit longer, and then it should be good to go. So for remote control, obviously one of the main reasons why we want to do this is so we can control everything remotely. So go ahead and just enable it, and it should just take maybe up to 60 seconds or so, a minute or two, and then you should be able to control your Home Assistant from anywhere in the world. So it looks like my remote control is available. So if I click on this link, it should bring up Home Assistant for me. And just like that, full access, and now I am remotely connecting. As you can see, it's using this URL .nabu casa as opposed to the standard, which is homeassistant.local. While we wait for remote control, one of the super cool features of Nabu Casa is text-to-speech. Now, basically, as the name suggests, you can have any of your connected speakers or connected media devices play any sort of speech that you want based on automation. So for example, if you want it to be dinner time, every time you trigger this automation for dinner or this particular action, you can add a phrase using the tts.cloud say service. And that way you can then have that phrase played throughout your house on any of the connected speakers, and that includes all different Google devices, Apple TV, soundbars, anything that's connected as a media player to Home Assistant, you can have this playthrough, which I think is super cool. Now, in one of my previous videos, I showed how to get Home Assistant devices into your Echo devices using a trick called emulate the hue, where basically you trick into thinking you have a virtual hue hub and all the devices within it basically show up as lights, which for the most part is fine because all you need is an on or off sort of binary switch, and that kind of works. But it's kind of a pain to set up. It's not perfect, and when you have Nabu Casa, you actually have the Home Assistant Amazon skill that you can just implement that way. So you'll check Amazon on, and then we're gonna. So before you go about integrating Home Assistant with Alex, what you're gonna want to do is manage your entities. And the reason for this is because chances are you're going to be doubled up on a lot of the different entities that you have. A lot of the devices that work with Home Assistant will also work with your Echo device and everything, and you don't want to have to double them up and then have to go through and delete them and have duplicates. So instead, just go through this, basically list all your different devices and then check just the ones that aren't already exposed to Amazon, and then only basically copy those. And once you've done that, you should have however many you have. And at that point, then you can go back and actually sync everything. So the easiest way is if you have already basically integrated the Home Assistant skill, then just go ahead and go to alexa.amazon.com and go to your devices. Click the first link to enable the Home Assistant skill. So let's go ahead and do that. Sign into our Amazon account. That is fine. Home Assistant skill, go ahead and enable that. I got a pop-up, there we go. And it's been synced or connected. Close this window to discover, yep. And then you're going to go down to the bottom of your devices and hit on Discover Devices. Once that is done, you can go to the top and you'll find all your new devices. And as you can see for me, I've got 8 or 7 new Home Assistant devices. You'll see what they are connected through. And that is pretty much it. Super easy and very straightforward. And then the second toggle is to enable state reporting. Highly recommended. This way, if you turn on a light from your Home Assistant, that new change in state of that light, whether it be on or off, will then also be reported or will also show up within Echo. So if you want to create routines based on that in one way or another, basically they're always going to be on the same page. They're always going to know what the state of a device is without having to sort of manually sync it. Highly recommended. If you're going to do this, you may as well enable state reporting, because otherwise there's kind of no point. Similarly to the Alexa skill, you can do the same thing with Google Assistant. I personally don't have any Google Assistant devices at home, so I don't have it. I can actually just turn it off, doesn't matter for me. But if you do have it, then you're going to just follow the prompts here, select it so that you are able to connect all of your Home Assistant devices to your Google Assistant devices. You can manage your entities. You can do the same thing as you could with Alex that I just showed you. So a cool feature of the remote control of your Home Assistant with Nabu Casa is you can actually make an automation that decides when you can or cannot connect remotely. So if you only ever wanted to connect remotely when you are out of the house, when you leave, so that, for example, no one else can remotely connect if you're already home, what you can do is you can create an automation, and there's 2 services that you can basically call upon to make this happen. So if we go to automations and add automation, we'll start with an empty one, and maybe someone already has a blueprint. I will check. But we're going to call this Cloud Connect Away. So for the triggers, we'll select geolocation, and the source will be device_tracker.iPhone. So my iPhone leaves my zone, the home, I will enable. So we're going to choose a call service, and it's going to be cloud.remote connect. So cloud.remote connect, you can find it easily, and then hit on save. And basically what this does is, as soon as your geolocation leaves your home, it enables remote access to your Home Assistant instance. If you are not outside of the proximity of your home, that zone that you have defined within Home Assistant, you can only access it locally. So your 5G or whatever your LTE, it won't be able to access it. Then we'll create another automation for when you are home, so that when you're home, it doesn't allow any sort of remote access. So basically no one can remotely access your Home Assistant when you are at home. So we'll just call it Cloud Connect Home. The trigger device will of course be geolocation again, source device tracker.iPhone, and zone will just be home. And this is when you enter home. So when you enter home, our action is going to be, once again, a call service, cloud remote disconnect. Basically turning off any sort of remote access to your Home Assistant. It's only going to be local. And hit on save. And there you have it, folks. You now have Nabu Casa up and running. You've got remote access up and running. You can even control when you have remote access using those automations. Text to speech is set up, and I even showed you how to do the Amazon Echo integration. So hopefully all of that was really helpful to you. If you do want to continue the free trial, you're helping out the developers of Home Assistant. I'm sure they greatly appreciate it. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe button for plenty more videos to come. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I'll get to them as best I can. And until next time, see ya.